Hi, Mr. Richards here. Today we're going to take a look at our practice problems on lessons 9, 10, and 11 in Unit 6, Grade 6 on the distributive property. Our first question asks us to select all the expressions that represent the area of the large outer rectangle. Well, A does work. It is 5 times the sum of 2 plus 4. But it's not just 5 times 2, then plus 4. It is, though, 5 times 2 plus 5 times 4. It's not the three numbers multiplied together. It's not the three numbers added together. Now, 2 plus 4 is 6, so 5 times 6 works as well. Let's move on to problem 2. Draw and label diagrams that show these two methods for calculating 19 times 50. First, find 10 times 50 and then add 9 times 50. Well, if I draw a rectangle, and this has, say, 50 here, and then we can have it split into 10 and 9. That would enable us to do 50 times 10 and then 50 times 9. First, find 20 times 50 and then take away 50. Well, we could look at this as a larger rectangle here. Is 50 times 20, and then break this down here into the 1 and the 19, and we could almost just cross out the 1, or you could check the 19, or however you want. Question 3. Complete each calculation using the distributive property. We have 98 times 24 being split into, for the 98, 100 minus 2 times 24. Okay. First we'll take, and we'll just write this out to start, 100 times 24, and then we'll subtract the 2 times 24, and that is a 2 there. 100 times 24 is 2,400 minus 48, which leaves us with 2,352. Our next question for 21 times 15 asks us to take 20 plus 1, then times 15. Okay, so that's going to be 20 times 15, then plus 1 times 15. 20 times 15 is 300, plus 15, we end up with 315. This even works with decimals. We have 51 hundredths times 40 split into 5 tenths and the 1/100th. So we can take 5 tenths times 40, add it to 1/100th, times 40. Half of 40, 20. Plus, this will be 4 tenths. So we end up with 20 and 4 tenths. Let's keep moving. Question 4. A group of 8 friends go to the movies. A bag of popcorn costs $2.99. How much will it cost to get one bag of popcorn for each friend? Explain how you can calculate this mentally. Well, if I just take 3 and multiply that by 8, I can get $24. But that is a penny more expensive per each person. So in my own head, I could take a penny times 8 and know that, okay, I am 8 cents over with that $24. And so, again, mentally, if I take $24 and take away 8 cents from that, I would get $23.92. Now this is going to be a challenge for this one because it says on graph paper draw diagrams of A plus A plus A plus A and 4A when A is 1, 2, and 3. What do you notice? Well, I'll sketch some of this out for us. So if we have just a plus a plus a plus a. That's a plus a plus a plus a when a is equal to 1. And then 4a, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, when a is equal to 1, they seem to be the same thing. What about when a is 2? Well, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these are also too big. Basically, what you would discover is that they are equivalent. Meaning, yes, they do have the same value for a no matter what. Question 6. 120% of x is equal to 78. Write an equation that shows the relationship. All right, well, one equation could be used with fractions, so you can do 120 over 100 times x equals 78. The other could be using a decimal, so 1.2 or 1.20, either way, times x equals 78. And you can use either equation to solve here. Now, if I simplify my 120 over 100, first off, that's 12 over 10, which also simplifies into 6 over 5 times x equals 78. And when I have that, now when I divide by 6/5 on both sides, what I have here is 78 divided by 6/5. If I keep my 78, change my division to multiplication, and take the reciprocal, flip there, I can take 78 and divide it by 6 to simplify. That becomes a 1 down there and a 13 up here. And 13 times 5 is 65. So x equals 65. Karen's aunt is 17 years older than Karen. How old will Karen's aunt be when Karen is 15 years old? Well, 15 plus the 17 is going to total 32 years old. 30 years old. 30 plus 17 is equal to 47. X years old. X plus 17 is, well, just x plus 17. How old will Karen be when his aunt is 60 years old? Well, now you need to subtract. 60 minus 17 is equal to 43. So Karen will be 43 years old when his aunt is 60 years old. And so as we continue on now to lesson 10, explain why the area of the large rectangle is 2a plus 3a plus 4a. Well, if I take 2 times a, I get the area of that box is 2a. If I take 3 times a, this box's area is 3a. If I take 4a, that area is 4a. A? So that is how you can get 2a plus 3a plus 4a when you look at the areas of the individual rectangles. So for our sake, I'll just write it's the area of the smaller rectangles. Added, I guess. Explain why the area of the large rectangle is 2 plus 3 plus 4 times a. Well, 2 plus 3 plus 4 is what that side is. And so you can just say 2 plus 3 plus 4 is the length of larger side. Assuming it's the larger side, it's the longer side in the picture. All right, is the area of the shaded rectangle 6 times 2 minus m or 6 times m minus 2? Explain how you know. Well, it's going to be 6 times m minus 2. the entire length here is labeled with the m. We're getting rid of the 2. And so basically the large is m, and we're taking away that 2. Now, choose the expressions that do not represent the total area of the rectangle. Select all that apply. That's a lot there in this reading. Read carefully. That do not apply to the total area of the rectangle. Well, if we go through this, our answers are going to be B and D. These do not represent, which means A does, because this is 5 times t, so 5t, plus 4 times t is 4t. So this is true. So is 9t, because 5t plus 4t is 9t. And then if you just were to look at the 5 plus 4 and multiply it by t, that works. Why don't these? Well, you're not just adding t plus 5 plus 4 to find area. And you're not just multiplying the 3 numbers together, 4 times 5 times t. Because the length of this side here is not 4 times 5, it's 4 plus 5. Well, let's continue on. Evaluate each expression mentally. Here we go. If you visualize this as 35 times 91, so 91 groups of 35, and then you're subtracting away 89 groups of 35, what you're really looking at are 2 groups of 35, which would be 70. Same logic here in B. You have 87 groups of 22, 13 groups of 22, so you really have 87 plus 13 groups here, which is 100 groups of 22, so 2,200 is your solution there. Then you have 9 11ths times 7 tenths minus 9 11ths times 3 tenths. Well, if you look at the 7 tenths minus 3 tenths, that leaves you with 4 tenths, which is equivalent to 2 fifths. So you can take 9 11ths times 2 fifths to get 18 over 55, which is the same thing as 36 over 110. Now select all the expressions in 5 that are equivalent to 4b. Well, b plus b plus b plus b, there's 4 b's there, but it's not 4 plus b. 2b or not 2b, 2b plus 2b is 4b. b times b times b times b is actually something we'll learn eventually, b to the 4th. b divided by 1/4, well, if we keep change reciprocal, that is b times 4, which is, well, 4b, so that works as well. In question 6, we're solving each equation and showing our reasoning. All right, well, let's divide by 14 here. And so we get 111 over 14 is equal to g, or some equivalent to that. Here, if we subtract 4 and 88/100ths on both sides, if you were to subtract this out, you get 8 and 77/100ths equals h. Here we need to subtract 1/3 on both sides. Now our common denominator is going to be 24ths. So if I just start this problem by saying this is k plus so many 24ths equals 5 and so many 24ths, 3 times 8 is 8, so 1 times 8 is 8, and then 8 times 3 is 24, 5 times 3, so we get these set up with equivalent fractions. Subtract the 8/24ths from both sides, and you get k equals, well, we got to do some borrowing here, unbundle. You get 4 and 27/24ths, and so now you're left with 4 and 27 minus 8 is 19/24ths. So k is equal to 4 and 19/24ths, or some equivalent to that. In D, if we have 2/5 m equals 17/4, when you divide by 2/5 on both sides, this becomes 1. You're left with whatever m is equal to 17/4 divided by 2/5, which when you keep change and multiply by the reciprocal, you are left with simply 85/8, or the equivalent to that for m. In E, if you divide by 4 on both sides here, you're left with 5 and 1600ths divided by 4, which is 1. Subtract the 4. 1. Bring down the 1. 2. Subtract the 8. 36. That's a 9. And it is 1 and 2900ths for N. Let's continue on to 7. Andre ran 5.5 laps of a track in 8 minutes at a constant speed. It took Andre X minutes to run each lap. Select all the equations that represent this situation. And to do so, we're going to have to go to the next page. Our answers are going to be A and E. If you take that 5.5 and multiply by X, that's the minutes to each lap, that is going to be 8 minutes. Or if you take the 8 minutes and divide by the 5.5 laps, that will tell you how long it took him to do each lap. All right, let's continue on to our lap. For each expression, use the distributive property to write an equivalent expression. Okay, this is going to be 4 times x, which is 4x, plus 4 times 2 is 8. So 4x plus 8 is one example here. Here, you could write 6 times x plus 8 times x. Here, 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times 3 is 12. And we can distribute to 3 terms as well. 6 times x is 6x plus 6y plus 6z. Now, Priya rewrites the expression 8y minus 24 as 8 times y minus 3. Han rewrites 8y minus 24 as 2 times 4y minus 12. Are Priya's and Han's expressions equivalent to 8y minus 24? Explain your reasoning. And just to kind of be a spoiler here, it's going to be yes. If you look at 8 times y minus 3 and distribute that back out, you get 8y minus 24. Same thing here. 2 times 4y minus 12, if you distribute that back out, you do get 8y minus 24. So yes, they are equivalent. Select all the expressions equivalent to 16x plus 36. Well, this is 16x plus 320, so not A. This is 16x plus 36x, so not B. This is, if you distribute, 4 times 4x is 16x, 4 times 9 is 36, so C works. D is 16x plus 36 when you multiply both by 2, so D works. And E is 16x plus 72, because you have to distribute the 2 to the 36 as well, so that does not work. So C and D are our solutions. The area of a rectangle is 30 plus 12x. List at least 3 possibilities for the length and width of this rectangle. Well, if we make our table here to help organize our thoughts, we have 3, 6, and 2, let's say. Our length versus our width. Well, our length, or our width could be the 3, the 6, and the 2. If that were the case, then, if I divide both those numbers by 3, I'd get 10 plus 4x. If I divide both by 6, I get 5 plus 2x. And if I divide both those numbers by 2, I get 15 plus 6x. A lot of possibilities, that's 3 of them. Now select all the expressions that are equivalent to 1/2 z. So remember, we're looking for what is equal to or equivalent to 1/2 z. That's 2z. This is 1/2 z. That's z squared. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4, which is 1/2. And that's just flat out 2z. Question 6. What is the perimeter of a square with a side length of 3 centimeters? Well, 3 times 4 gets us 12 centimeters. 7 centimeters. 7 times 4 gets us 28 centimeters. And s centimeters, well, just 4 times s, 4s. Then, if the perimeter is 360, what's the side length? Well, 4 times the side length equals our perimeter. So if we take 360 and divide by 4, you would get S equals 90 centimeters. Now, area, there you would go side squared, or 3 times 3 is 9. 7 times 7 is 49. And of course, our units here are square centimeters. And then for S, it would just be S times S, or side squared. And so if the area is 121, what's the side length? Well, if the side squared is equal to 121, what number times itself is 121? That's going to be 11, because 11 times 11 is 121. And now we go to our solve each equation. All right. Well, if I divide both sides here by 4, I end up with 10 divided by 4. Well, 10.00. 4 goes into 10 2 times. Subtract the 8. 20. You get 2.5. So 2.5 equals y. What about b? Well, if I divide by 5 on both sides here, I'll get 17.5 divided by 5. And it goes in 3 times here, minus 15. You get the 2 with the 5. Subtract 25, because I can put a 5 here, and you get 0. So y here equals 3.5. Now when I divide by 10, I'm just moving my decimal over one spot to the left, so 0.1036 is equal to y here. If I divide by 6/10 on both sides here, well, let's take half a second here. This is 1 8/10 divided by 6/10. Got to multiply these both by 10 because I can't have a decimal with the second number. So 18 divided by 6. I don't even need to long divide that to tell you that y is going to equal 3. And lastly, in E, if we divide by 1/10 on both sides, and again, if we write this out as 15 divided by 1/10, multiply both these by 10, because I can't have a decimal in that second number, you get 150 divided by 1. Again, no calculator needed to tell you that 150 is equal to y. And that is it for this trifecta of homework reviews for lessons 9, 10, and 11, all covering the distributive property in grade 6. Good luck.